After years of hushed whispers and unanswered questions, Mike Wolfe finally steps forward to expose the darker chapters of Frank Fritz's journey. A journey that, contrary to the vibrant tales on screen, ended in tragedy. What hidden battles did Frank face behind his charismatic smile? And what secret struggles lay beneath his lifelong passion for uncovering history's lost treasures? As fans of American Pickers have long admired his infectious enthusiasm, these revelations promise to upend everything we thought we knew about the beloved collector. In a stark confession that leaves no room for sugarcoating, Mike declares, Frank Fritz's story ended worse than you think. Could it be that the man who brought the past to life was silently fighting a war within? A battle that ultimately derailed his legacy? Prepare to delve deep into the shocking truth, one that not only challenges the polished narrative of a television icon, but also leaves us questioning, what price did Frank really pay for a life lived in pursuit of forgotten wonders? Stay tuned, the final twist in Frank Fritz's story that will leave you absolutely speechless. Frank was born in Davenport, Iowa, on October 11, 1963, and was raised surrounded by the culture and rich history of the Midwest region of the United States. From a young age, Frank discovered magic in the ordinary, whereas many kids engaged in sports or the newest fashions. His early years were characterized by long afternoons spent exploring dusty antique stores and marketplaces, where he became fascinated by the things that other people didn't notice. He was fascinated by coins, stamps, beer cans, and even used razor blades, not because they were valuable, but because of the stories they told. Each object has been imprinted with the spirit of its history, a glimpse into a different time period, a reminder of lives lived and memories lost. The subtle beauty of history was already ingrained in Frank's young mind. This fascination would later characterize his entire career. Frank's early adult life took an unexpected turn. Despite his innate interest in antiques, he committed himself to a career as a fire inspector in Iowa for almost 25 years. Even though it seemed unrelated to his love of collecting, this career ended up being a surprising catalyst for his interest expansion. Frank found that historical buildings, warehouses, and fire stations frequently held artifacts and memorabilia that revealed a great deal about previous generations. Because of his work, he was able to amass a unique collection of firehouse memorabilia, including vintage fire alarms, antique helmets, and artifacts that testified to the bravery of firefighters. His eventual transition into a full-time antiques dealer was made possible by this dual existence, which he maintained while juggling a traditional job with his developing passion for historical artifacts. The internal urge to preserve history eventually became too powerful to ignore. Frank took the crucial step of quitting his secure job to start his own antique shop, Frank's Finds. This leap of faith was a statement of who he was, not just a business decision. Every item in his store was handled with respect, and each one was chosen with care to tell a tale. The transition from fire inspector to business owner was significant. Building a place where historical treasures and rare collectibles could be honored and shared with others was Frank's way of expressing his enduring passion. His ability to see value where others saw clutter made his business a popular destination for other collectors and enthusiasts. He transformed his lifelong pastime into a lucrative career with Frank's Finds, proving that the search for beauty and history need not be consigned to the realm of obscurity. The debut of the television show American Pickers marked a sea change in Frank's public life. Frank became interested in the project when fellow treasure hunter and kindred spirit Mike Wolfe had an idea for a show that would chronicle the excitement of discovering lost artifacts across America. The show was an instant hit when it debuted in 2010, enthralling viewers with its unique fusion of nostalgia, adventure, and the obvious chemistry between its hosts. Frank was the likable character of the series because of his sincere manner and innate storytelling skills. His contagious excitement, his kind humor, and the sincerity with which he approached every discovery captivated the audience. Frank was more than just a collector when he was on camera. He was an enthusiastic historian who brought the past to life with each interaction. In addition to raising Frank's profile, the collaboration with Mike Wolfe gave him the opportunity to share his distinct viewpoint with a national audience, solidifying his place as a legend in the antiques industry. But behind the scenes, things weren't always as perfect as they seemed on TV. Frank and Mike's personal and professional conflicts increased in conjunction with American Picker's rapid increase in popularity. Growing disagreements and underlying conflicts were the subject of rumors, which led to Frank going silent beginning in 2020. His gradual departure from the program sparked a lot of public speculation, with both fans and business insiders questioning whether there were more serious problems at hand or if his absence was just the result of health issues. The dynamic that had previously made the show so captivating started to deteriorate under the weight of unresolved conflicts and personal hardships, making this uncertain time a turning point. Significant personal struggles that gradually came to light characterized Frank's life off-camera. The once vibrant and unstoppable collector had to face the harsh facts of physical deterioration. His lengthy and difficult recovery from a major back surgery left him physically scarred and served as a metaphor for the frailty of his once strong spirit. In addition to his physical suffering, Frank fought against things that many people find hard to confront in public: addiction, alcoholism, and the crippling effects of anxiety. His vulnerabilities were heightened by the intense spotlight that came with fame, with all its glamour and adoration. Frank's already turbulent life was further complicated by his battle with Crohn's disease, a chronic illness that reduced his strength and caused him to lose a significant amount of weight. A weakness that had long been concealed by his on-screen persona was exposed by these overlapping crises, which depicted a man whose internal struggles were just as intense as the external ones he faced. Frank formally left American Pickers in 2021 as a result of a number of these personal and professional challenges. There were bitter public remarks and a cloud of controversy surrounding the decision. Mike Wolfe, whom Frank accused of separating himself during his darkest moments, deeply betrayed him. This split wasn't just due to professional disagreements, rather, it was a sign of a larger feeling of desertion that afflicted Frank at a time when he most needed help. The consequences of this split rippled through the fan base and had a lasting impact on the show's legacy. The breakup of this once strong alliance marked the end of an era for many, serving as a sobering reminder of how even the strongest of relationships can be undermined by personal conflict. Frank's personal problems went well beyond his work-related difficulties. One of the most significant chapters in his life story was his relationship with Diane Bankson, his long-term romantic partner with whom he experienced decades of highs and lows. Once full of promise and common goals, their relationship slowly turned into a tale of heartbreak and betrayal. When Diane filed a lawsuit against Frank over a controversial firework incident, the intense feelings surrounding their time together came to a head. This legal battle exposed their long-standing disagreements. Because of the deep emotional wounds from their turbulent relationship, Frank decided to permanently mark his suffering by getting a tattoo that said, "Once a cheater, always a cheater," reflecting a period of his life marked by loss and regret. This glaring symbol of betrayal acted as a continual reminder of the personal scars that would permanently tarnish his heart. Amidst these intensifying personal and professional challenges, Frank experienced yet another cruel turn of events. He had a severe stroke in July 2022 that fundamentally changed the course of his life. He lost his independence as a result of the devastating stroke, which made him dependent on others to perform even the most basic daily tasks. Frank needed 24-hour care due to his rapidly deteriorating health, and an individual appointed by the court was brought in to oversee his financial matters. His medical expenses skyrocketed to almost $35,000 per month, a startling sum that highlighted the seriousness of his illness and the high expense of life-saving treatment in the present era. In addition to being a physical injury, the stroke marked the symbolic end of the man's once unbreakable spirit, as he had dedicated his life to discovering hidden treasures. But even during the most terrible times of his decline, something of hope for a reconciliation between Frank and Mike Wolfe, his ex-partner, appeared. Mike reached out as Frank's health declined, putting aside years of hatred to provide companionship and support during those last, vulnerable months. Both men found some comfort in this act of reconnection, which was the result of a shared past and a strong bond developed over years of traveling together. During Mike's visits, they had meaningful conversations and talked about how their shared love of antiques had initially brought them together. The old friends managed to mend the rift caused by years of animosity and miscommunication in these private moments, proving that even the most severe wounds can start to mend when treated with sincere kindness. Those who had really valued in Frank's life were present during his quiet final days. Frank died of complications from his stroke in September 2024, following years of relentless battle with his health and the weight of his personal struggles. He passed away peacefully in the arms of his loved ones, close friends, and a changed Mike Wolfe, whose steadfast presence brought solace to an otherwise isolating last chapter. It was a very private farewell, a calm recognition of a life that had been lived with passion, suffering, and ultimately, a desire for reconciliation. It was a far cry from the wild energy of television sets and the admiration of millions. The legacy that Frank left behind started to gain even more significance after his death. After a protracted period of silence, Mike Wolfe finally spoke up and gave an honest assessment of Frank's life, revealing both the tragedies and the victories of their shared past. Mike discussed the pivotal events that shaped Frank's life in his afterlife disclosures, such as his choice to end his relationship with Diane Bankson, which he called his greatest regret. More than the breakup of a romantic relationship, Mike believes that moment marked the end of Frank's hope for a meaningful, long-lasting happiness. Fans found resonance in this candid admission, which served as a moving reminder that every public figure has a deeply personal backstory, full of mistakes, regrets, and the never-ending quest for forgiveness. When we look back on Frank Fritz's life, we see a path filled with both heartbreaking lows and incredible highs. His early love of collecting antiques was more than just a pastime. It was an expression of a deep desire to preserve the beauty and history found in commonplace items. From a devoted fire inspector to a successful businessman and adored TV personality, Frank stayed loyal to the essence of himself as he traversed the changing terrain of his personal and professional lives. His life served as a striking example of how one passion, fostered from an early age, can grow into a force that determines one's fate despite insurmountable obstacles. His work with Mike Wolfe and their adventures together on American Pickers were about more than just the excitement of finding lost artifacts. They were about creating relationships that went beyond the norm. However, the very connections that helped him advance in his career also carried the wounds of unresolved conflict and betrayal, highlighting the intricate relationship between interpersonal dynamics and personal ambition. Even though it was bittersweet, the eventual reconciliation with Mike demonstrated the ability to forgive and the restorative value of going back to treasured memories, even in cases where time has left deep scars. Frank Fritz's life ultimately tells a story of passion, adversity, and redemption, a story that emphasizes the inherent worth of accepting both the good and the bad aspects of one's existence. His legacy is characterized by the unwavering spirit with which he met every challenge, not just by the antiques he gathered or the television celebrity he experienced. Frank's story serves as a reminder that the relationships we cultivate, the experiences we gain, and the struggles we face are frequently the most valuable things in life. By honoring his legacy, we pay tribute to the man whose journey was a living, breathing canvas of love, loss, and eventual reconciliation. In addition to the legendary figure from American Pickers, his tale challenges us to examine the stories that mold our own lives more closely, to look for the hidden gems within our experiences, and to recognize the nuanced balance between happiness and sadness that gives each life its own special charm. With all of its successes and setbacks, Frank Fritz's journey continues to motivate a new generation of collectors, dreamers, and seekers by serving as a reminder that every item, memory, and deep connection has the capacity to profoundly and unexpectedly alter our lives.